Hello, this is the Go There Do That podcast. My name is Ethan, and of course, today I'm here with Heather, and we are going to talk about work-life balance today. We're going to take a break from our Blue Ridge saga. We'll get back to that in a minute. But I think I just wanted to take a break from focusing on something specific like a trip because I stayed up late last night editing Big Bend National Park trip that we took from
like 3 years ago.
From 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And boy howdy, let me tell you, revisiting your old self from 3 years ago is quite the experience.
Yeah.
It's very weird. But I was just trying to think about how...
Because that's like our first time to like really go through that footage even.
Yeah, that deeply.
Yeah.
And we are going back to Big Bend.
Yeah, in November.
In
over
November.
Thanksgiving.
And yeah, so...
It's kind of a weird, like thinking about yourself 3 years ago and then going back to the same place, but knowing you're going to have a totally different experience. And you're a totally different person than you were 3 years ago.
Yeah, and the time we went was like COVID. And so I think I felt that we weren't able to do like...
Well, yeah, I mean, like some of the
lot.
things were closed. We
Yeah.
could not do like the hot springs, which is a very popular thing to do in the park, and we couldn't cross the border on the Boquillos Trail. So, yeah, two pretty big things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're going back for now. With the van, we didn't have the van back then.
Yeah, we were tent camping.
We were tent camping with the Ford Explorer.
It was the first time we really like questioned tent camping too. Because until then, it had been like sunshine and rainbows, and that was the first time like there was... Honestly, the weather was okay. It was so cold that we would like... I remember one night we were like heating ourselves up in the car, and then like knowing we were gonna have to sleep, but we had really good sleeping bags, but it's just like the feeling of like going from just getting into your sleeping bag. It's very cold, and then we ran from the car to our sleeping bags. Like we were like, oh, maybe we'll still be like warm. And then I had a little... That was like, I guess, my first trip of the trip where I like
The first
ate it
the first of
on the way to the tent.
two trips.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a tumble. You sprinted out of the car and then...
I don't know if I've ever hit the ground that hard. It was just like from vertical to horizontal in like half a second.
Well, it's so dark there.
Yeah.
And you hit the concrete slab with your toe.
Yeah.
And that just sent you in some sort of ballerina-like movement.
I just like got up and like hobbled and like I didn't even like say anything, and I just like crawled into my sleeping bag.
Yeah. It was... Well, because you wanted to stay there and be hurt.
Yeah,
but then you
but I
started
was like,
freezing.
It's so cold.
And so then you crawled into the sleeping bag, and it was like... You were like, I'm just going to get out of the car and sprint straight into the sleeping bag. And it's going to be great because
I had the perfect plan.
I'll never get cold with this plan. And then...
Yeah. But then it was also like super windy when we were in the Rio Grande area. And it like broke our tent poles.
Broke the tent.
And we slept in the car because we couldn't sleep in the tent. It was way too loud, and we were getting like pushed around. Like the tent was touching my forehead. Like the top, it was like a tall tent, like you could stand up in it. And the top of it was like coming down and like touching my forehead because it was getting... Yeah, the wind was blowing it around so
the
much.
old Kingdom 6 from REI.
Yeah. But now we're going back in the van, so that'll be a different experience, you know, as well. But then, just we're kind of different than we were 3 years ago, for sure.
Yeah. I had a lot more hair.
Yeah.
I was, like, taking off my hat.
Yeah.
And then, like, moving this, and it was, like, just kept going. It was, like, flowing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Your locks I had a lot more hair then too, but it was just longer.
Yep. You and me both. But, yeah, I don't know. It's very weird.
Yeah.
Like, what has taken me so long? I guess work-life balance. Like, what has taken me so long is because, like, we both work full-time jobs, so
yeah,
things get a little backlogged, especially when you,
right,
like, you need to come home every single day and edit a video.
Yeah. Essentially, this is like a very complicated hobby that we've also created a business out of.
It's just a hobby that was too complicated to be called a hobby anymore.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, I guess you should start a business around this entire thing.
Yeah.
Because you can't call it a hobby. But it literally started with just like, oh, I guess I'll take a camera and a couple memory cards. And then it's just like, well, I guess I'll just add music over.
Yeah.
Like wonderful, beautiful music. Well, I guess this trip actually meant a lot to me. So I spend a little more time on it, and then I guess I'll just start a podcast. And then I heard something.
I guess we'll do an art show. I guess we'll build a website.
Yeah. Go There Do That is essentially like an autobiography of our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I think the personal side life of adventure that our relationship is.
Yeah.
I think. Because I don't know what else to call it. Well, we did say,
crazy.
We do say on the website that it's like a fancy
diary.
Fancy diary, but yeah.
But it's like basically a reflection of like us and like, you know, the places we're staying, but also like what we're going through. Like you can kind of see it in the videos, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, but like a lot of issues that I find myself facing are like a lot of the issues are external, it seems, at first, but then once you realize why those external issues are having an effect on you internally, you then start to look inward and say, well, why does this bug me? You know? Why is this actually like, why am I actually struggling to edit? And so I did do something very humbling. It was 2 Wednesdays ago. I went and purchased a violin, and it is what I told you that it was the most humbling thing I've done or tried to do since I was learning how to walk.
Yeah.
And so I think the purpose of me purchasing a violin is to learn how to play because it's my favorite instrument. But then afterwards I'm like, oh, this is the hardest instrument to learn ever. But you know, you sacrifice the present for your future. It's just like an investment of time for later. And I was thinking around midlife crisis range, which is like 35. Yeah. I'm looking out for future
Ethan, yeah.
Yeah. And so I'll be...
You'll like have already had your crisis, or like...
No, around 35 is the typical age.
Yeah.
According to Carl Jung.
So how are you looking out for him? What do you mean by that?
Well, at 35, you're like, I would definitely be saying, I wish I would have learned an instrument.
Oh, but then you face that feeling of like, oh, it's too late now, even though it's not.
You start to freak out.
Yeah.
That's when I would buy a violin.
Okay.
I guess.
Yeah, and it wasn't as impulsive as like it sounds. Like you've been talking about it for like a while now, and you know, kind of like the goal is because I play the piano. I definitely have to brush up on my skills pretty severely, but you know, I have that background, and so the idea is maybe one day for us to make music together that goes with our videos. And maybe that's a completely insane goal, but we've had a lot of completely insane goals.
Mm-hmm. What's another?
In our short lives, so
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Well, achieved insane things, yeah.
Yeah.
But the timeline for that wasn't tomorrow. It was within 10 years.
When you said that, I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of realistic.
Yeah.
I mean, that's about how long I took lessons in the first place, so.
Well, I would be more scared to do it if you didn't already have lessons in your life. Like, how long it was when you were...
I
from what age?
played from when I was, like, 7 to when I was, like, a sophomore. So about 10 years, yeah.
I mean, yeah. So, like, your muscle memory kicking back in, and you still know how to read music.
I still have to... It is annoying because I have to, like, sometimes look up, and then I'm like, oh, yeah, right, FACE, or whatever, but
it's not like a foreign planet, like, with me.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is crazy. Well, I have been practicing every day since we've got... And it hasn't... I mean, I haven't had it that long, so that's not like a brag yet. But...
It's still something to be proud of.
Yeah. But it's crazy. Oh, yeah, but me being so bad at violin helps me edit videos because I'm like, oh, I'm actually... That's something that I've actually worked on.
I'm good at.
Yeah. And it helps me appreciate the things that I'm like am skilled at because you can
that's so true. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you can get wrapped up in your own little world of like, well, what if you know, what if I criticize myself?
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, guess what?
I'm a lot better at editing than I am at playing violin. So
yeah. So being bad at something is good if you're able to recognize the things you are good at.
Yeah. And be okay. It can be hard to be bad at something too. So like just you being like okay with being bad at it right now is like kind of powerful too.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I brought this up the other day. I mean, you know, I've known you for a long time now, so I know a lot about your background, but I was kind of like, this is probably one of the first times you've, like, not been kind of naturally good at something to, like, pick up pretty quickly, because, like, with sports and stuff, you know, like, you're tall and, like, fit, like, naturally fit without, like, working super hard, and so I don't know that you really, like, struggled with things like that.
Yeah. It's from childhood. I played sports all the time.
Yeah, and even when you, like, first started, like, video stuff, like, that was right when we started dating. And then, like, the first, you know, video you made your, like, professor cry and stuff. So, not that it was, like, a cinematic masterpiece, but you were kind of, like, naturally...
emotional.
Good. Yeah, good with that. So... It is kind of neat to see you start on something that you might not have, like, a natural proclivity to, but you're, like, not kind of letting your ego get a hold of you and being like, ugh, never mind, you know?
Yeah, we bought it. They asked if I wanted to rent it. I was like, no, I have to buy this. Because
I didn't know that. Yeah. You, like, called me and you're like, so can I buy this violin, blah, blah, blah? And I literally, like, pulled up, like, our budget spreadsheet and, like, looked at some stuff, and I was like, yes. Fine.
Yeah. But I'm only going to talk about it. I'm never going to, like, show it publicly until
you're good.
I'm actually good enough to not sound like the screams of hell.
Well, it hasn't been... I was a little nervous that, like, you know... I was, like, imagining, you know, your kid, like, practicing violin, like, in a TV show or whatever, and it just like sounds terrible and it's loud and echoes throughout the whole house, but like I can from like downstairs, I can't hear it in our bedroom at all because you like practice upstairs in the guest room, so I can't hear it from our bedroom at all. And from the living room, it like sounds like this faint, like it's so far away you can block it out
like a ghost.
Yeah. And then I really can't like hear it unless I like walk up here and go by the door.
Yeah, I mean, I can do open strings on bowing open strings just pretty evenly now. It's just getting my left hand to work in conjunction with everything else. It's like I had a bass guitar in high school, and that's way, way different
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Like, you don't have any, like, frets or fingerboards to place your fingers on.
So you don't really know where
you
to place
literally
your
have to
fingers?
listen to.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
And that's why people learn when they're 8 years old. And
Yeah.
not 28.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I bought it, the guy that works there, Bruce, I was like there, and then this kid walks in, getting like, they have different sizes depending on the kid's size.
Yeah.
But he was getting one, and he was like, "Oh, that could have been you 20 years ago." I'm like, "Yeah, it could have been."
That's okay.
But
yeah, I'm very thankful. Like, it's made me think a lot about, like, being grateful, even though it was a pain in my butt sometimes, like, that my parents, like, paid for piano lessons. And I'm sure that kind of stretched their finances. Like, knowing what I know now about, like, how much lessons cost and music costs and, all that. I'm sure that it was, like, a sacrifice. And then they also, like, kind of didn't, like, make me stay in it, but also didn't let me be super flaky about it. So that's something I'm feeling pretty grateful for these days.
Yeah.
Since I have to brush up enough to be able to play with you in 10 years.
Yeah, because the piano we have.
Yeah, it's my childhood piano.
Childhood piano. And I had sneakily contacted your parents.
I thought I would never. I didn't ever think that. Like, my parents were kind of like holding on to it for me, but I had kind of like given up.
Yeah.
On.
It's hard to move a piano.
Yeah. Yeah. Part of it was like living somewhere where you can fit a piano, and it's not just like a focal point of your living room, like to eat off of or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then like we finally had this space, but then I had like I think my dad or my mom had asked, like, somebody had asked them if they could like buy it, and they like said no because like they're keeping it for me. And then I felt really bad because I was like, I don't know if I'm ever gonna like be able to take it. Like that's a huge ordeal to get a piano, 250 miles to a different location. And then you did it. You arranged for that behind my back where I didn't even know until it was at my doorstep.
Linkford Moving Service.
Yeah.
Yeah, my family was coming to visit, and they have a truck. So I was like, can you just put the piano in the truck? And then I, had my brother and cousin help load it. But then it had to get tuned. And then, it's complicated. Instruments are so complicated. It's like the arts are such an extra thing in society. Like, people are like, well, we don't have time for that art thing, But without arts, what would life be like without actual beauty created by people?
Sad and quiet.
Music, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if there was no music.
Ugh.
Yeah, but then it's like instruments, all that is extra effort to have to bring it in and learn and do all these things, and it's like you love it and appreciate it when you can hear it, right? But the process of creating that sound is so difficult that a lot of people don't think about what goes on behind the scenes. But like instruments hard. You can't just be like, I'm gonna learn violin next week and compose music and include them in my videos.
Well, that's what's intimidating to me about your like diabolical plan is, I took lessons for a long time and knew how to play music and did recitals and stuff like that, but as far as like me creating my own music, I never did that. And so that's kind of intimidating to me to just like learn what sounds good together and like feel that, be able to create it.
Right.
But I guess that's how I started piano, I guess, because that's why the piano was like gifted to me as a kid, because it was at this like lady's house, and I would like go over there, and I was like 2, and I would sit down at it and literally like try to make music, instead of like banging on it. So I've been told. I don't remember it a whole lot, but yeah. And then she left the piano to me in hopes of me becoming, Beethoven.
Yep.
So.
Well, I mean, you can't become another person, but
yeah,
you become who you are. Like the idea is daunting, but I think I guess that's the whole idea of a work-life balance. Like, you set goals for yourself. It doesn't matter if it's work related or personal. Like, you do something to challenge yourself. Because if you see a problem and you're like calling it a problem and an issue and all those things, and you don't say it's a challenge, like you have the equipment to solve most issues, as long as you have like the willpower to overcome that thing. Because like presenting problems, challenges to yourself sounds crazy, because it's like, don't we have enough problems in our world? But then it's like, well,
yeah, but I would at least like to have some problems that I want to have.
Yeah. Like, even when something is going crazy in your life, I think it's good to slow down and say, what lesson can I learn from this? What thing is this teaching me right now?
Yeah, that can be hard to do in the moment.
It's so hard to do in the moment. But, I mean, yeah. I've came out of the other side of a few things, and it's difficult to get into that state of mind and not get wrapped up in because all the emotions you're feeling when you're in it is it's bordering on overwhelming, right? It's like a hair away from being overwhelming. But you see that little bitty bit of you that is capable, and that goes with anything. Nothing specific here. But I think everybody has that within them.
Yeah.
And the ability to do that has afforded me now the luxury of getting to the point of saying, hey, I bought a violin. And that is like, I don't come from like an artsy background,
Yeah.
I don't have a long line of violinists in my family.
Yeah.
Like, that's probably why it's such a cool thing to be able to like have the freedom to navigate complex things like that.
Yeah.
So I try not to get wrapped up in the external, There's enough going on up here.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a work-life balance. That's what I'm talking about. Well, it's
and creating like your own challenges.
Are you trying to make a living,
worth it.
or are you trying to make a life? Like,
yeah,
that's a good question. I think, are you trying to get by, or are you trying to like be your best self? But just saying, I don't come from a place of privilege. That's what I'm getting at too. Like, there are many things that we've been through
and overcome
together. Yeah. And that's like, this sort of feeling, I think, has to be earned. It's never going to be given. Like a true feeling of like, hey, me and my wife are wanting to make music together. Yeah. As a goal. Like,
I told somebody that's
something you got to work for.
I told my boss that you bought a violin and, yada yada, and that the goal was like for us to make music together. And he was like, y'all already do that. That he meant that like metaphorically. Yeah.
Yeah. Already make music.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not singing on this podcast, but yeah. That was a nice thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
How do you balance your work life?
It's a lot easier these days since I did not have much of a grasp on that concept when I was teaching, which is probably why I'm not teaching anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I did try. Like, I went through, bouts where I put my, like, physical health pretty high up on the list, but then my mental health was shit. Yeah, but yeah, nowadays I have, like, time and space in the mornings. It's, like, my favorite time of day. So I have until, like, about 9 or 10 o'clock to really, like, dig into work. And so I spend my mornings doing things that make my heart feel good, like reading outside, meditating, doing some yoga, eating breakfast, which is a little thing, but something that I used to do on the go if I did at all. But yeah, just enjoying the, like, quiet, peaceful mornings. And then during work, like, I just work really hard during work hours, and I stay focused during that time. And then when I'm, like, off the clock, then it's time to focus on some other things that make me happy. And a lot of times that's, like, hanging out with you, or lately it's been practicing the piano a little bit while you're practicing the violin, going for a walk, doing a little bit of workout. But yeah, just trying. I have this, like, checklist, because that's how my brain works a little bit, or else I can just get into basically I have to, like, work to make sure I'm, like, taking care of myself like a normal human being. And so I, like, make a checklist of, like, goals for myself for the day. But it's not just, like, do laundry, work, order curbside, although that is on the list too, but it's things like making sure I've done, like, mindfulness exercise, or spent some time outside, or moved my body. And I used to put, like, a specific workout activity on there, but now I just put move your body, because it's like, just do something.
Don't forget to breathe.
Yeah, exactly. And then I do, like, a learning, like, a goal that I have for, like, learning that day. So, like, reading, practicing German, practicing piano. And then I have, like, a connection goal, because I can sometimes get in my own head and block people out. And so I, like, put on there, like, Ethan connection, which means, like, talking to you or playing zombies or whatever. And then sometimes I have to be like, call mom to, like, remind myself to, that other people love you and are there. But yeah, and it's color coded, so it makes me feel good when I get to make my little check marks. But that's how I have been doing it lately, and it's not perfect, but most days I feel pretty good.
Yeah. For us to stay productive, I had to make a podcast for us to speak to each other, because we're always so busy.
It's not true.
I'm just kidding.
We talk to each other all the time.
I had a question. What was the hardest part about the process of leaving teaching?
The process of leaving teaching?
Like, what was hard about leaving? Was it easy? Like, you were years you've kind of thought about it. It was 2019, like, even pre-COVID, you were wanting to dip out.
Yeah, I guess the hardest part was, like, finding something to leave teaching for.
Something suitable.
Right. Something I felt comfortable leaving for,
Like, was there, like...
Because, it's, like, unfamiliar territory. It's, like, you can stay in this, like, toxic relationship you have because you are comfortable with it because you know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can jump ship into this thing that you have no idea what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So that was probably the hardest part, was jumping ship into an unknown.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The unknown. So, like, that's like just any time you make a choice for yourself, too, though.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
when you're not in this realm of familiarity,
Mm-hmm.
once you leave that, then it's
Yep.
a whole new ball game, because it's like, hey, all the decisions you make, they're all going to affect you in ways you don't even know or understand. Are you okay with that choice you're making for yourself?
Yep.
And then you're like, what?
Yeah.
And then you're, living life. But
Yep.
Another fun quote is our troubles are common, but the solution is individual.
Yeah.
Like, there is no one stop solution to, like, even teaching. Like,
Yeah.
it's...
Or advice in general about
Mm-hmm.
much of anything.
Like,
what works for someone might not work for someone else.
Like, it's about finding your... Because everyone finds peace in different ways, too.
Right.
But,
yeah. Some people don't like reading or practicing another language or music,
Mm-hmm. Some people like to just look at rocks.
Yeah. I do that too.
A bad example.
But somebody, like, we've gone through phases too. Like, we used to play, like, video games a lot. And that was, like, fine for us, and it worked for us at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't really do that as much anymore. But it doesn't take away from the fact that was, like, a good outlet for us at one point,
Yeah. I might have said this already before some other time, but, like, we treat our relationship as, like, a separate entity from us.
Yeah.
As, like, me and you recognize that we're separate people.
Mm-hmm. A lot of
together.
times I'll be, like, super down in the dumps, and I, like, pick myself up for the sake of, like, us.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes more than, like, me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it's
and
like,
I think you do the same.
seeing the relationship as its own thing, too. It's like, it's not, like, if I hurt you, it hurts me. Like, that's the whole thing. Like, when you see somebody as, like, an other separate
right, like,
thing
this has nothing to do with me. Yeah.
Like, anytime.
Like, this is my problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's not your problem. But, like, any problem that you have is my problem, too.
Because that's what you, like, I guess, tell me and you signed up for and stuff.
Right.
So, that's the agreement that we have.
Yeah.
And we both have boundaries.
Yeah.
Too.
Right.
And
yeah, because sometimes I'm like, you tell me something and I'm like, that sounds like it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to, figure that out, or do you need to be sad about it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what stinks, is you don't perpetuate any sort of, like, thing I have either way.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, oh, what's that called? The mirroring.
Mirroring, yeah.
Like, you're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
like,
sometimes you're, like, looking for me to tell you what to do, or...
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be great. It'd be great if there was just some kind of... But then,
I'm not going to do that, because then it's my fault.
Well...
If,
Yeah.
If it doesn't go your way or whatever.
Well, I was getting to something.
Sorry.
It'd be great if there's some kind of guiding force that told you what you needed to do, but you actually do have that thing
within yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, external. You can't be relying on anything really outside of yourself. That's you can't even rely on yourself sometimes. Like, you just have to rely on this, like, other part of you. Like, whenever you're feeling down, and, like, what actually does motivate
there's something in you that
to pick yourself up,
keeps going,
you know, because there's, like, a reason to, like, I always do that. Like, I always say you should always have something to, like, look forward to. I mean,
It helps.
I always say that, like, but you can create that thing and don't become like attached to it, because you're going to have to do things in order to get to that thing that you're looking forward to.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't say, oh, well, in this amount of time, something new will come, like a promise, because there are really no like actual guarantees about things. So like, if you are waiting around for it to happen, it is less likely to happen than if you are taking action
to get there,
to make that happen. And I'm looking forward to that thing.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm 35 years old and I'm 7 years
decent
in,
at violin,
7 years of violin, whatever that looks like, I might still be at the same place I am, but
it's doubtful.
Yeah, who knows? I was reading this blog, and this person had said,
"Oh,
there's an O'Malley bark.
O'Malley has a problem with something going on."
Just one bark though, so it's a minor issue. So, I was reading a blog, and this person had said that their left hand just wasn't working for them, but they were practicing for years, and they still couldn't get sound to come out right with their left hand on the strings. And I was like,
that's infuriating.
Oh no. I was like, I really hope I never. But they also said they were teaching themselves with no lessons.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, that's probably a big part of it, because that's,
I think it's important to, like, since I don't plan on going to like lessons.
Yeah.
But I think for you it's important because that like feedback and like knowing that what you're doing is even on the right track is a huge part of like learning something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, self-teaching yourself violin is probably unrealistic.
Right.
Yeah.
So some of your goals need to be attained with the help of others.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I can help you learn music, but I can't help you learn how to play it because I have no idea.
No.
Yeah.
No. But that's like, I think a big thing to realize too is that it's okay to like
ask for help.
And it's especially difficult when it's something that you want to be good at or like claim to be good at. Something like, I'm not asking for help because I'm like, I've been doing this for
it would be
years.
A little egotistical if you were like, I'm just going to self-teach myself,
like,
because then I don't have to give anyone credit for any of this.
Like, that's crazy. Like, because I've always, throughout my life, there's several people that I cannot, and at the time of them helping me, I was like, oh, like they're at a point up here and they're able to like help, lend you a hand for a second, but you're not going to like rely on that hand every time. But when you're feeling like uplifted by another person, you're like, I thought at the time, there's no way that I'll ever be able to like repay this person.
Yeah.
Like, really. And it's different if you're actually paying the person to help you. But like
a lesson.
As far as like whatever it is, like advice or just give a gift of something or whatever, something free without the expectation of anything back. And I think it's like an understanding. A true gift is like, don't ever pay me back. Like, this is not owed.
Yeah.
That's hard to come to terms with. But at the time, I'd never be able to like give somebody a camera like when my first camera was given to me.
Given to you, yeah.
But that first camera was gifted to someone else, and I've always thought like I want to be at the point where I'm able to like pay it forward.
Right.
Yeah. Because if that person is giving you something, obviously they're in a position where they're not left wanting afterwards. But there are other people that are like in need of a hand. But the trouble is asking. Like it's difficult.
It's vulnerable, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's a tricky situation. Why is that? Why is it hard to ask for help?
Oh man, don't ask me. I'm the queen of not asking for help.
Do you need help with answering that question?
Yeah. Yeah.
Will you ask for help?
No.
For answering that question? JK. Just kidding. Because because we're not supposed to appear like vulnerable, weak. Yeah, like you said, it's a very vulnerable
It's
thing.
a vulnerability, yeah.
And so then you're like, well, I'm not like good enough.
And it's like, it's scary to rely on somebody else because, you know, you could come across someone genuine who is like, doesn't expect anything in return, and then sometimes you could ask for help from someone who does expect, you know, your soul in return. And so I don't know.
You sign the paper.
I don't know. Yeah, I have a lot of trouble asking for help.
You also
Awkward.
You also do a lot. We also do a lot for yourself. Like,
I know.
It's
and I also am like, yeah. Then when I don't know.
Because like, are we really capable of?
I'm very independent.
Are you capable of figuring everything out yourself?
No, I know.
I know.
But I'm gonna try first.
Well, that's good. I guess it's like.
It's not like I've never been helped in my life, because I have.
Yeah.
But
when you
most of the time I try to figure it out
when
myself.
you reach up for that top cabinet and you just can't quite reach that bowl, you still don't ask. You like, give me this look, and in that look,
please.
In that look, it is a cry for help. People cry for help.
Okay, yeah, I have to have help with things that are up high. Fair enough.
But you just do it. That term, cry, that's a cry for help right there. Like, there's little ones where you're just like, oh, man.
But if you didn't help me, then I would just go get my step stool and climb up on the counter and grab it. So I can do it myself. But sometimes I let you in. Sometimes I let you help me.
To make me feel better about myself?
Yeah.
Thanks.
No. I think to open myself up to being able to be helped by someone too. Like it's like a practice, you know?
That's healthy.
Yeah.
I think, right?
Yeah.
Opening up. Yeah. So what do you do when you meditate? Like, what is meditation?
Oh, me personally?
Just whoever wants to answer.
I don't know. I didn't know if you were asking for like a definition.
I don't know what it is. It's different for everybody. When people say meditation, they imagine some monk sitting on a mountain.
Yeah.
They're like, well, okay, but what is it actually?
So sometimes I like work on like breathing exercises, and sometimes I do like a body check, and I like go through and like try to think of and feel like each part of my body and like kind of do a check-in, like, and sometimes I like notice things that I didn't notice before, where I'm like, oh, I have like a pain in my ankle that I like didn't notice. Just like sitting there thinking, or sitting there being, or whatever. And then sometimes I have this like book that gives you like something to think about and kind of meditate on, like a thought. But yeah. And then sometimes I just sit in the backyard and listen to the crickets and feel the wind on my skin, and that's meditation too for me.
So it's essentially just like a reassociation with reality.
Yeah, and being like very present and trying to shut off those ever circling thoughts, you know.
You think it's
quieting them.
You think it's possible to be in that state all the time?
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel myself in that state a lot more often than like when I started. So maybe.
What was that feeling? Describe that feeling while you were teaching. Where was it?
A meditation?
Mm-hmm.
When I was asleep. I don't know. And then I would still have like nightmares. They
When
wake me up in a cold sweat.
All of my senses were deafened. and totally gone.
No. I don't know.
When you were like,
I mean, probably when I was teaching,
banging out a lesson.
Yeah.
Like you were just bam, 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 and the kids were just
you're like in the moment. I mean, I guess like with teaching, you have to be very present when you're. I think that was part of what was exhausting about it, is that you're like on all day, present there, constantly for 7 hours a day. Yeah, so I was probably in a meditative state in those moments.
What's the difference between a meditative state and a disassociative state? Are those are those opposites?
Yeah. Disassociative is like you're trying to leave the planet, like you're off, because I've do that too. Like that's what I did in school a lot, daydreaming, going somewhere else. But meditating is being there.
So disassociation is going somewhere else other than here, and then meditation is bringing yourself back,
like grounding yourself.
Touching some grass. Yep. Reminding. What's the world have to teach you when you pay attention to it? You said like the breeze, the crickets. What is that?
For me, it's like a calmness, amongst all the chaos, because I still have the sound of whatever construction company is down the block from us or whatever, like off in the distance, and you can hear their saws like all the time. But even with that, you can like change your focus to the cricket instead of that sound.
I kind of like the grinding of metal against metal.
Yeah. So maybe it teaches me kind of like it sounds like cheesy, but like positive mindset type thing, because you can choose to focus on the sound of the metal grinding against each other, because it is also there. And then it's going to make you like clench your teeth and start to react to that, and like that negative, but then you can also notice this other like peaceful sound over here and focus on that. So yeah, it probably helps me do that in like life, and focusing on nice things.
Do you think two people are able to make that kind of connection with each other?
What do you mean?
Like when you're fully paying attention to the wind or crickets or just whatever, do you think two people are able to like
pay attention to each other?
Yeah, that's
like called tantra, I think.
What is that?
I think that's called tantra, right?
You're the one
where you just like hold each other's hands and stare at each other.
Oh, notice everything. Okay.
Yeah. That's being like super present. Yeah.
That was in that TV show Beef.
Yeah.
Is that what they were doing?
Yeah.
But then they like did it for 5 seconds and started.
It's uncomfortable. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's harder to do that with someone else than by yourself.
I did an acting class in college, and we had to like put our hands together but stare at each other's eyes and then match our breathing.
That's very intimate. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, who picks the breathing rate? Like if you just start breathing heavily, does the other person do it? I should have done that. Just started breathing much harder, because it was all this slow breathing. But what if you started picking it up? And would the other person follow suit? I don't know. I just thought of that. Do you want to try a breathing exercise later? Tantra?
I don't know.
Is it scary?
Yeah, I have trouble with that too. So
So you don't have to do tantra though.
Yeah.
I don't think. Because people, what do people like are seen by somebody else? You know what that means? Like what I'm saying?
Yeah, like I'm present
it's
with
like,
you a lot.
Oh.
Like I listen to you, and and I try to stay with you as long as I can.
So it's much healthier to say that you listen rather than put up with to, like, the person you're with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's like a joke.
Right.
Or whatever. But I always say, how far do jokes actually go? Like, whatever, you're like, oh, the old ball and chain around your friends or whatever. And then you keep saying that over and over. And it's like, are they a ball and chain? Like, I've been saying, I don't have another word.
Heather must really suck.
I don't have another word for Heather except for ball and chain.
Yeah.
Like, that's, like, everything that you put out into the external world has
I appreciate how you speak about me to others. Because it's not like that. Mm-hmm. You, like, put me up.
Yeah. I try to be mindful of that.
Yeah.
Anytime it's external.
Like, I do, too. I mean, I feel it can be, like, hard sometimes. And, like, you know, people are going around the table talking about things that they don't like about their spouse, which can be fine. Like, sometimes you need to vent. So, like, that's been hard for me too, because, like, I've been in, like, an abusive relationship where you feel like you can't talk about the other person. Like, you're scared to talk anything bad about that person.
Because they have, like,
so I don't think that you should, like, not be able to share your, you know, anything about your partner anyways, because that can be dangerous. But then also, like, being mindful of what you're sharing, because like, if you're just looking for something to be, like, pissed about, you know, that's not great. But yeah, sometimes you do things that are annoying, but not everybody has to, like, know about that. So my go-to is always that you, like, leave the cabinets open, because that's, like, a small thing that doesn't bother me that much, but it's, like, my complaint about you. But for the most part, I'm going to talk to you about my complaints about you and not someone else. But I think when you're, like, venting to somebody else, it's because you feel like you can't vent to the person that you're having a problem with about that.
Cut out the middleman.
That can be, like, a you problem, but it could also be, like, a them problem. Like, maybe you don't feel like you can share that with them because they haven't, like, created a safe space for you to feel like you can. Because I feel like I can complain about you to you and call you out, but that's taken a long time. And I still think about it for a while before I share it with you, because I don't want to say, like, the wrong thing or, like, come across as, like, more mean than I intend to be, because I can be kind of, like, blunt sometimes. But then I can also be way too sugar-coated sometimes and then not get the point across. But, yeah. Anyways, I feel like I can tell you what's bothering me.
That's good.
Yeah.
Like yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
You were like,
that almost hurt. I feel like I hurt your feelings, so I didn't do a good job.
I'm bored. And then I was like, what do you mean? And
you were like talking to me, like sharing all your deepest, darkest feelings.
Opening up. Like, I have these little thoughts and I just go with them and stuff, but we were already talking for like 2 hours or something. Yeah. And so then we were like, kept talking and then you were like getting hungry.
Yeah, and that was the biggest issue.
It was like 12 or whatever, but yeah. And then you're like, I'm just
stood
bored.
Up and I was like, I'm bored. I can't listen anymore.
And I was like, oh, what do you mean?
But what I meant was, like, I need to pay attention to my needs too, and I, like, need to pee, and I'm hungry, and I am, like, needing something else to stimulate me other than this, like, conversation.
Like food.
Yeah. So I'm not necessarily, like, bored. I just, like, would like to shift gears. Yeah.
So I always wonder, who's really in charge, the stomach or the brain?
For me, it's definitely my stomach, because I become, like, a different person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I become a person, instead of listening thoughtfully and mirroring, I could become the person that just shouts, I'm bored.
Can make a Snickers commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, yeah, that's like, most of our things, just anything, comes from miscommunication.
Yeah.
Like, it's two people not understanding, and it's like, wait, what did you mean? And then there's like either an unwillingness to understand or an unwillingness to explain, and then that's how the issue perpetuates. Like,
yeah.
Yesterday wasn't a problem. It was just like, what did you mean? Oh, I meant this. Oh, okay. Like,
yeah. And I apologized for how I said it too, because it was rude.
Yeah, but when we don't know where something's coming from.
Yeah, I had to figure it out first too. I had to figure out where that was coming from.
Yeah, but
yeah,
that's like a lot of issues you can have, and since this is about work life, like not understanding where you're coming from is a big, like what you're actually wanting,
Yeah.
And what you're actually needing to say is difficult to like articulate. Mm-hmm. That's what I've been trying to focus on a lot, is articulation of things going on in here. Mm-hmm. And journaling has helped a lot, because then you read it back and you're like, oh, that doesn't make sense to me now. Like,
right.
Or it's like, oh, I kind of know what I meant there.
Yeah.
Like I was trying to compare the mind to like looking into a void, but it's the same scariness as looking up at like the night sky. And in your brain, how they say a glimmer of hope. Mm-hmm. You see glimmers in your head of like, hey, maybe that's it. But some people don't have time to look at the stars, just like some people don't have time to look at those glimmers within their own mind and say, maybe that's what I mean. But they don't explore that at all, or spend time to really let it sink in.
Yeah. And
they move on to something else. And it seems like distractions are a little bit like light pollution too. We're not able to see the stars as much because of light pollution, but then distractions are kind of like that as well,
right?
Where you're not able to make out really what there's less and less of them. I
feel like a lot better and more calm lately, because even though we're adding distractions in, like relearning piano, learning violin, we've cut out some distractions like drinking.
Oh, alcohol's a big one.
Yeah.
Like, we went to several outings.
Yeah.
And then it just said no, but it's not as awkward as you think it would be.
No, and I've been my thing is I bring these sparkling waters in a can, and so you don't feel left out. Like obviously you're not getting drunk or whatever, and it's not like you're acting like you are, and I'm not hiding anything. I'm I'm not drinking, but you still feel like you're able to sit in the pool with a can. You're
included.
Yeah, you're still included.
Still a part of that ceremony, ritual, whatever.
Yeah.
That's a part of it too, is socially.
Yeah.
We're all doing.
Yeah, I don't feel like I've had to isolate myself, because of that or whatever.
Yeah. Plus, if your friends
I'm not making it anyone else's problem.
Yeah, if your friends are pressuring you to do that too, it's right.
Then I'm gonna but we don't have people in our lives that are like that, so.
Stay away.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not boring if you choose to do something for yourself.
Right, because it's not like either of us have a quote unquote problem with alcohol, but
we just don't have time for it anymore.
Yeah, it is to me it's a waste of I was tired, and at this point I'm 30 and I feel like I was having a beer and then I'm done. I'm out for the count. I feel like crap for the next 3 days. It was just getting out of hand. I'm just losing so much time, and I got tired of the feeling of being hungover. It was that dislike of that feeling was finally overcoming the liking of the feeling of drinking. And then also I feel a lot more I feel less anxious and more confident in myself, which is a lot of what I was using drinking for, was to feel more comfortable in a social situation. And so, yeah, it just doesn't feel like the right thing for me right now. And then, it could be correlated. Maybe it's not, but I like haven't worked out in like a while, and like we've cut that out, and so I have like more energy, and I've been working out because you know you kind of replace those types of behaviors with something else.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Well, your brain, yeah, like you have to fill your time with something,
right?
And when it's coming home every day and popping up in a couple,
it was not every day.
Well, no. Like I'm thinking of like COVID times or something.
Oh yeah, that was rough.
Like you know, you just kind of
that was borderline.
There's nothing else to do, so you have to fill your time up with something, and then you come home and it's like, oh, we're at Truly's.
Yeah.
Like,
but I feel less. Yeah, because I feel like sometimes we would drink because we were bored, and I feel less bored. Yeah. Except for yesterday, I guess, but I still didn't feel like drinking.
yeah. I'm glad I don't talk in a way that drives you to seek out alcohol.
No. And it's been a lot easier because I've like, you know, I've kind of been going away from it for a while now, like maybe like 6 months or so. But I still like would, if we like were hanging out with friends, you know, or there was something to like celebrate, but I wasn't just like at our house.
Plenty of exceptions to find though.
Right, you know? Exactly. And yeah, like, oh, we're eating at El Mon. That's probably the hardest, to not get a Mexican martini at El Mon.
But we did do that, didn't
and then we did, we did that. So, like, it is a lot easier. Like, I didn't need you to, like, do it with me. But it's been a lot easier to stay consistent and be like, yeah, like, it's not even worth it at my friend's party, you know? Or my friend's birthday party or whatever. Like, I still don't want to drink. Yeah. But yeah, that was a huge moment for us. Our favorite place to eat is like this Mexican restaurant in the town we live in, and it's like great aesthetic vibes, beautiful outdoor seating area, and they have the best Mexican martinis and margaritas, really. So we would like, it's kind of like our spot where we like go when we're celebrating something or just like want to talk and feel just like, you know, date night or whatever. But you like suggested going there, and I was like, can we go somewhere else? Because I don't know if I like have the willpower to not order a Mexican martini there. Because the taste more than anything. But we went and we didn't get a drink, and it was also like half the price that it normally is. Like it normally like cuts down our eating out budget for the rest of the month. Yeah. And like, yeah, we did that, and it was like, oh, that was like way cheaper than it normally is. Yeah.
So what's interesting is like when you drink, there was something that we heard or read, I don't know where it was from, but like the saying is you're borrowing happiness from tomorrow.
Yeah.
But the inverse is if you're sacrificing the present for your future, that is better. Because if you're sacrificing the future for now, for the now, right now, the happiness of tomorrow, right? But if you're like staving off happiness now to later feel that like gratification after like a longer goal has been met, isn't that the opposite?
Yeah.
Is that the inverse? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're like, we're not going to do that, and because we'll feel better later.
Right.
But like right now, it's like, well, I would
really kind of awkward
prefer to do that.
Yeah.
You know,
I wish I had a Mexican martini right now. It would have been fun to drink at my friend's birthday party. Yeah.
I was sweating outside El Mon. It was hot.
I know. Yeah.
El Monumento is the restaurant name, but yeah, like it would have been refreshing.
For sure. Yeah, and we waited for a table for like an hour. So then you're like, what do we do? But then we just talked, and you brought your journal, and you were like reading some things, and then we would just like have this random deep conversation. Yeah, so we passed the time even without that. So yeah.
Yep. Just able to put up with each other. Raw dog in life.
Yeah.
That one photo meme or somebody
Yeah.
said. I don't know. It's like when you hear something from the internet, it's just like, I don't know where I heard this from, but it's just on this like
Disappeared.
random
Yeah.
consciousness. Like, I remember the username of this person, and they like nobody
You
ever
wouldn't know to give
quotes.
credit. Yeah.
That's what I try to do when I read books, like
Right.
the person that said it, but like nobody gets quoted when they make a internet
Meme.
post. Yeah. Yeah. But there's this old man at an airport just staring at the wall, just like looking around and observing things, and they're like, he wasn't eating, he didn't have his phone out, he wasn't doing anything, he wasn't reading, like, and they're like, yeah, man, that's called raw dog in life. You're just no stimulation except for what's going on in your head.
What's going on in your head, yeah.
That's the place.
Yeah.
How do you make it fun to be in your head?
Yeah. You gotta clear out some of the skeletons first. Make it not scary.
Admit things to yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was just writing about that.
Oh.
If you make the process of being an individuation, being an individual, right? Like if you recognize that you're different from people, then you have to like define how to yourself, like, how am I different? And because you have a past that's not like anyone else on the planet Earth, right? Same with everybody.
Yeah.
But you have to like connect all those dots, and most of the time it's like something little unsavory that you've experienced or continue to experience, and so then you're like, well, I don't want to talk about
I'm gonna skip past that part.
Yeah, it's like, okay, but you can't fast forward through that because there's a gap there now, or as I called it, a void, because you're avoiding it,
right?
And so then you're like, have this part of your history that's just kind of X'd out, but it's like hard to do that. It takes people years, to connect everything, and you'll never really truly be done.
Yeah.
You're in a constant state of like becoming,
Yeah. But I think the first step towards that is like not being afraid to connect it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because then like your goal becomes a little more clear too, on like your life and your future. Because if you just have no history that you're willing to think about, then how are you supposed to look forward? It's like in the Hobbit movie when Gandalf like came back for all the dwarves and saved them from the trolls. They said, "Where did you go?" And he was like looking ahead. He was like, "What brought you back?" He's like looking behind. But it's like, I think that quote can just be twisted into whatever I'm talking about right now, where in order to move forward, you have to look behind first. Know where you came from. Can't forget about it. That's a important part of a healthy work-life balance too. So but like, how'd you end up where you are, like, that's tough. That's a tough question.
Lots of micro choices, big choices, events.
Yeah. And it's like, I think it's difficult too, wanting to like get to know, when you start to want to get to know the people you interact with every day, like who are your neighbors actually, and who are your co-workers, and who is your family. You start to like want to know, and it kind of gets to a point where you can't really stop once you start like wanting to learn
about
things.
Other people. Yeah, it's not even like a nosy thing. It's just,
well, like what's the motivation here?
It's
like,
just having connection deeper than, I don't know, what's your favorite color?
Right.
Yeah.
What's your favorite color? Is it purple? Because that's the color you have behind you.
My favorite color actually is purple.
Shoot.
But it's like, what does that say about me? Not much.
Purple is historically has been a royalty, because it's like a difficult color to obtain.
Oh, yeah.
Or like put on clothing. So,
Mm-hmm.
mate, are you royalty?
Sure.
What's blue? I kind of have some blue behind me.
Sad.
Why so blue? Yeah. So I think that is probably the worst explanation
Of
ever
work-life
for
balance.
Have a work-life balance. So what? I don't understand.
You might need to choose a different episode name.
I'm still gonna name it that. Because
Has nothing to do with work-life balance.
Maybe.
Well,
Maybe.
I mean, in a way, like work-life balance is finding things that make your life whole, because you're not guaranteed to get that out of like work, you know.
Oh.
And maybe you're not supposed to.
Hmm.
So looking for things in your life that bring you a wholeness.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that's a work-life balance, because we do like have to work, and that's a part of life, and it's a huge part of our lives, and we spend a lot of time in our day doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But what you do outside of that is just as important, because that is also who you are, not just what you do.
There's a whole nother half of me that exists.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the book Big Magic
Yeah.
by Elizabeth Gilbert, the same author
Eat, Pray, Love lady.
I was gonna say the same author of Eat, Pray, Love.
Oh.
Not the Eat, Pray, Love lady like I normally say.
No, we're just quoting you.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to be polite. That book is like about just enjoying life, like being getting to work on your passions, if you know, like everybody has one within them, either it be hidden or repressed.
Right.
But the one issue that she pointed out in the book with extracurricular activities in our education system would be like not the expectation that you're gonna play basketball and then go play college, you know,
right, and then you give it,
and then go to NBA.
Yeah.
Like you have to be.
You loved playing basketball in high school, but then you never play it again after you graduate.
Yeah,
because it's not your job.
Well, yeah, and then like I didn't get into the college for basketball, but like intramurals exist. Like if you enjoy doing the thing you did, then there's no reason why, unless you like don't have a tennis court available or something.
Yeah.
But like even then, there's an example of a woman who did ice skating, but she never like was first place gold. You know, like she just enjoyed doing it, but it was like the expectation, like, well, you didn't get first place, so there's no real future for you in skating. So she was like told that, and she was like, well, I just liked it for doing it, but I guess I can't do it now since I wasn't like the best.
Right.
And she was like in her 40s.
Yeah.
And she rediscovered that. She was like, oh, there's nobody telling me I can't do this. And so she was on the skating rink practicing with children around her, but she was just lost in her own world, and she would do that either before work, like for 2 hours, you know, and it like started her day off with something that she enjoyed doing, and then she would go to work,
and it had nothing to do with her job.
Like it, I don't even know what she did, but it wasn't a ice skater. But yeah, she just found that there's not a law saying that you can't do things that you enjoy just because you're not the best at it.
Yeah, I know. But that's hard. That can be hard, yeah.
But that's, there's a lot of expectations set up that we attach ourselves to.
Right, like don't bother with that after you're done with school if you aren't good at it or if you didn't make it your career. And like I think that's hard too, because you can like be good at it and not an Olympic gold medal status too. Like, yeah. But then you feel like you're supposed to give up on that dream. But it's like, maybe it doesn't have to be a dream, like it could just be your reality, because a dream would be like going to the Olympics for that. But like that, like maybe you just live in the reality that you like to figure skate, and that's what you do without the expectation of going to the Olympics. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I just heard O'Malley cry, so we're gonna.
It's
have
probably
to wrap
his
this
dinner
up.
time. Yeah.
But I'm gonna end this with admitting something to you.
Oh.
I don't expect to be Mozart.
Yeah.
With the violin.
Yeah.
I just want to learn something new and enjoy doing it. I enjoy playing the 4 open strings right now because
it's an accomplishment in itself.
It's the fun feeling of vibrating. The instruments are like right here, and it's kind of like a pillow that you're leaning on of music.
And you're literally feeling the music in your body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
But then I try to put my finger on a string, and it's like, please stop. Please stop. That's why I think that's why they call it a living instrument, though, because it lets you know when you're not
using
doing
it
something right. It's like, just don't.
Yeah.
Don't. You're not ready for that yet. Like, it just
slow down.
Tells you. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
that's all right. You don't have to be Mozart. We can make music together even if it's not that pretty.
Well, yeah, but I won't be screeching.
Okay.
Anyways, I think if that helped, that's a miracle.
And
that helps anybody.
That's our advice on work-life balance.
Yeah. I mostly just wanted to chit-chat a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, we could just...
you know what? It's our podcast, and we get to...
Oh, shoot, I forgot.
Do it however we want.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, so...
I just wanted to document the violin.
I know, you've been excited to talk about it.
So this is the announcement. In order to maintain a healthy work-life balance, for me personally, I went out of my way and purchased a violin, and now I have to practice that for at least 20 minutes a day every day. I got home from a meeting later last Thursday and just came upstairs, and I was like, I am tired.
And you went up and you practiced.
Yeah.
And Friday we basically binge watched all of the show Beef on Netflix.
That's a quick watch, yeah.
And then it was 11 p.m. when we finished, and then you went upstairs and you practiced because you hadn't practiced yet.
Every day. I already got my practice in today, though. So
yeah, we're good.
Thank goodness. But that is just one way of relating to the ineffable mystery that underlies ourselves as individuals to the world. Have a great day.
See you later.